Whoa. Okay, you guys, we just got some major updates for the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series on Netflix, thanks to a huge feature piece on Entertainment Weekly. So, grab your cabbages, get comfortable, because we have a lot to dive into. Some good things, and some not good things. What's going on, you guys? James here with some real news, and today, that's right, we're diving right into Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender series because we have amazing details to share. Like I mentioned, some good and some bad, but here's the thing. We're gonna go top to bottom with this article. It's written by Nick Romano, and it was a feature piece in Entertainment Weekly this week titled "A New Avatar Awakens Inside The Last Airbender's live-action reincarnation." So I'm really excited to dive into this. If you missed it, we just talked about the very first glimpse at Monkey Yatso in live action and possible Season 2 news. So find all of those links in the description below. And if you don't want to miss out on my reactions, reviews, and so much more when the show drops on February 22nd, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and get loud in the comments, and let me know what you think about the good details we're about to talk about, and the one questionable change they're making to a beloved character that still has me scratching my head. Just why would they do that anyway? Hey, let me not get ahead of myself, and let's get started with the news. Before we dive into the article, we gotta talk about this amazing motion cover that Entertainment Weekly directed and produced. It stars Gio Wendio as Katara, Dallas Liu as Zuko, Gordon Cormier as Aang, and Ian Ousley as Sokka with his patented boomerang. I just hope he didn't hit anybody offset with that. Seriously, I'm praying for them. But man, the movements look so good and so fluid here, and it gives me hope because one of my concerns was whether they'd be able to really capture the essence of the animated series, which included a lot of fluidity and martial arts inspired action and movement. So I get why they brought on a stunt coordinator for Avatar: The Last Airbender in live action that has that martial arts background and also is able to understand how to coordinate stunts properly, at least from what I understand. So yeah, I do love so far what we're getting in terms of glimpses into what the final product could look like. And also, Team Avatar just looks great together. We're going to get into a cast interview at the end of this video that just goes to show their chemistry is off the charts. But, of course, for me, as you guys know, I'm a big proponent of music. And in the original series, Jeremy Zuckerman's score is near perfect. I honestly think it is perfect. Not many scores are perfect for me, but that's one of them. And Takashi Furukawa's score here in the live-action series so far sounds really darn good. I mean, just listen to it in this promo piece alone. Yeah, I got goosebumpies. You can't see them because I'm wearing a cardigan. Listen, I'm on my Mr. Rogers today. But guys, now it's time to get into these new images that gave us first looks at scenes we've never witnessed before in the live action adaptation. And I'm pretty excited by the crop of photos we've gotten, so let's get into it. First, we see Princess Azula reading a scroll next to her father, Fire Lord Ozai. Guys, I tried to make out the text on the scroll and even attempt to translate it, but I couldn't get there, and maybe it's because the text is mirrored? I don't know, but it was really hard for me, so if you can figure out the translation, let me know down below in the comments, even if it's a partial translation. But I was racking my mind around what scroll this could be. The only scroll of prominence that we get in Book 1 of the original series is that of a waterbending scroll. Now, this scroll that Azula's holding up next to her dad doesn't look anything like that, so could it be that Fire Lord Ozai is giving a bit of a history lesson, I should say, to Azula, and Azula's learning about her family and possibly what could be left behind for her? Next up is Uncle Iroh and Prince Zuko looking at something? I don't know. It most likely is either Iroh teaching Zuko about their family, or Prince Zuko showing his uncle how he's been tracking the Avatar. I mean, the reason I say that is because if you look at the papers in the background of this photo, it is the same exact poster board of sorts that we see in the trailer that we got last week, where Prince Zuko is basically going through every single piece of evidence to try and track down Aang and the gang. So yeah, I'm just saying, the moments with Iroh and Zuko on the ship in the original series were really good, so I can't wait to get more of that, hopefully, in the live action series. And then we see a photo of Jet and Katara next to each other, back to back. Now this is definitely the Jet episode where Aang and the gang meet Jet and the Freedom Fighters. I also recognize this background. It looks very much like the forest we got in that first look image from a previous Entertainment Weekly article back on New Year's Eve, I think it was, where we see Aang, Sokka, and Katara back to back to back, looking like they're ready to fight something off, or someone. I also predicted that the forest that we saw in that photo could be the Jet episode, so if I'm right, I'm taking credit for it. And then we also see Katara looking at Jet almost in awe, so yeah, I know, I remember as well that Katara was fawning over Jet initially in the original series, but she learned very quickly. Jet is not so great. There is one more thing though, and I think this is maybe me looking really into the photo, so I could be wrong here, but maybe I'm not. Katara still has her waterbending necklace that was a family heirloom she lost in book 1 of the original series at this point in the series. So in the live action adaptation, is it possible that Katara never loses her water bending necklace? That would kind of stink in a way, because it gives Katara more fuel to not like Zuko, you know? But yeah, so maybe we just don't see Zuko pick up her waterbending necklace from the ship when they first rescue Aang in the original series. And in the next photo, we see Sokka, Katara, and Aang in what looks to be like a shop of sorts. Could this be the moment where they get introduced to the pirates who have a lot of things to sell, a lot of stolen goods for sale? And then one of the things, of course, that Katara comes upon is a waterbending scroll. Maybe. Or it could just be somebody's office, and it's possible that it might be in the Earth Kingdom, maybe Omashu, I don't know. But I will say, if it is the pirate moment, I mean, there are trinkets in the background that we can see, so it just kind of gives it away. But it is just cool to see all three of them together. And lastly, the final new photo that we got from this article is Suki and Sokka training on Kyoshi Island. Avatar fans, we remember this moment very well, and it was a very big moment for Sokka as a character because he was humbled very quickly by Suki and the Kyoshi warriors, because as we know in the original series, Sokka is very sexist at the start and always downplaying women and their strength and what they're capable of. And then Suki says, "I'm gonna teach you today, boy," and she does. And there's going to be more on Sokka's character arc in the live action adaptation that we'll talk about later. Trust me, we'll get there. But yeah, it's just really cool to see Maria Zhang and Ian Ousley next to each other. It looks like they already have good chemistry as well. So we've gone through the motion poster and all of the new first images, so it's time to buckle up and recap the Entertainment Weekly article. Seriously, get comfortable, guys. Alrighty, I'm going to pick out all the most important parts. So we're going to start with the Air Nomad genocide. I know, that sounds awful, but we will see the Air Nomads getting wiped out by the Fire Nation in the live action series. And I, for one, am actually very okay with that creative difference from the original series. And I quote from the article, "But Aang has been mysteriously missing for 100 years, which has allowed the Fire Nation to ignite a war for global domination that already wiped out the Air Nomads. An event the new series realizes on screen for the first time." Now that's going to be a big moment. Most likely is the moment that we saw in the trailer. When I broke down the trailer, I could see what looked to be Air Nomads fighting against Fire Nation soldiers. So that's most likely going to be the opening of Season 1. But Gordon Cormier seems a little too excited about the Air Nomad genocide. Kidding, but yeah, he's very, very excited for this to be on screen. And I quote, "I think the Airbender genocide is really cool." Well, no, not like that. I mean, yeah, my whole family's dead, of course. It's not a good thing, but watching it is going to be sick. Hey, he knows more than we do, so if he says it's going to be sick, it's probably going to be pretty cool. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next detail I pulled from this article, and that is Albert Kim, the showrunner for Avatar The Last Airbender, mentioning that this live-action adaptation will not just be for kids. Instead, it's going to be much darker. And I quote, "For fans of the second and third season, I think it's all in line with what they saw there." And if you guys remember, later in this series, the original series, we got episodes like The Puppet Master, where Katara learns how to bloodbend, and ooh, it still freaks me out to this day, you guys. That episode sticks with you. So if we get something like that in season 1, oh my gosh. Now this next detail is really cool, especially for OG fans of the series. Dallas Liu, who plays Prince Zuko, met Dante Bosco, who voices Zuko in the original series. According to the article, Dallas Liu met Dante Bosco in the summer of 2021, and he said this, I quote, "It was such a rewarding feeling to see how supportive he was of the decisions that I made for the role. He was absolutely cheering me on and wanted me to make it my own." From what I know of Dante Bosco, he's one, incredibly genuine, and two, really supportive of his fellow co-stars and those in Hollywood. So yeah, man, that's really cool, and that gives me a lot of hope for the character of Zuko in the live action series. I'd imagine that Dallas Liu's going to do a really good job here and could end up surprising us with the performance of the season. Alrighty, so let's move on to this next chunk of information. The live action series is apparently going to make a huge change to Sokka. Alrighty, let me get a drink of water, because this is the moment where I got a lot to talk about. Alrighty, so first things first. When talking about the character, Ian Ousley, again, who plays Sokka in the live action show, mentioned the adaptation will add a lot of realism to what we saw in the original series. And that's cool, nothing wrong with that. And then Gia Wendio, who plays Katara, added a little bit more detail to his quote. And she says this, "I feel like we also took out the element of how sexist Sokka was. I feel like there were a lot of moments in the original show that were iffy." I have an issue with that. I have a big issue with the fact that they're taking out a huge chunk of Sokka's character arc. Now, it would be a different story if in the original series, they didn't make any excuses for Sokka's sexist behavior and didn't address it and just let him do that, and it never got resolved. But in the original series, he wasn't just sexist and that was it. It actually tied into his character, and he humbled himself once he met Suki and beyond. So this is a big part of his character's growth. And the fact that they're taking that away in the live action adaptation, it worries me a bit, because I think what it does is it lessens the impact of Sokka as a character. We need that layer. That is a very essential layer for Sokka, so it worries me. What will they do instead? Or will they just relegate him more to a two-dimensional character versus that three-dimensional character that we got due to good storytelling and writing in the original series? So I'm nervous, guys. That makes me very nervous. Okay, so now that you've had maybe 2 or 3 seconds to compose yourself, let's move on to the next detail. Fire Lord Ozai will apparently not get lots of screen time in Season 1. Daniel Dae Kim, who plays Fire Lord Ozai, an incredible actor first and foremost, and someone who is going to crush it, I think, as Ozai, confirms this by saying, and I quote, "Ozai is always watching and always judging, so you get a sense of how stifling this family can be. He doesn't have a lot of screen time, but you do feel him whenever you see Zuko or Azula." And that's okay with me, because we barely got Fire Lord Ozai in Book 1 of the original series. He was more of an ominous character, sort of lurking in the shadows. Of course, here in Season 1 of the live action show, they give him more screen time. It doesn't mean they give him a lot, especially according to what we just heard. So maybe he pops up every now and then, and maybe at the end of Season 1, that's when he maybe throws off his robe and says, "Alright bro, I'm gonna take these matters into my own hands," Thanos style. I could see it happening. Now, staying with the Fire Nation themselves, we gotta talk about this next detail, which is the fact that we're going to get Azula's origin story in live action. Now, this is something that I've been predicting here on the channel, that they will dive more into Princess Azula, especially considering the fact that Elizabeth Yu, who plays Princess Azula, is seen multiple times in teaser trailers and official trailers for Season 1. So, as you guys know, at the end of Season 1 of the original series, we get Azula, so she's not in it a lot at all, to be honest with you. But in a way, I'm actually okay with Azula being a more prominent figure in the live action show. Elizabeth Yu says this, and I quote, "A lot of the OG series was through the eyes of Zuko. I feel like our show lets Azula and Ozai have their own start to this story before all the stuff that we know them to do later on. We get to see her origin story, which is really cool." And I agree, it is pretty cool, especially if we can see some blue lightning in season 1. I would love that. Yeah, so it's going to add more weight to Azula as a character, and I'm all here for it. Now this next detail is actually pretty cool because it features some talk about the original creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender and details of their involvement we hadn't known before. Apparently, Bryan Konietzko and Michael DiMartino, who actually were the original showrunners and creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender, they have more influence in the live-action show than you think. If you don't remember, they departed the show in 2020 due to creative differences and left Albert Kim and his team of executive producers and writers and directors to take on the task of, well, bringing Avatar to life. According to the article, and I quote, "Both are credited as writing the teleplay for the premiere episode with Albert Kim, while Konietzko is credited on the teleplay for episode 6 with Emily Kim and Hunter Rise, based on a story from Konietzko and DiMartino." So while Michael DiMartino and Bryan Konietzko's split from this live-action show was a bit messy, and it continues to be a little messy, you can still see that at least their influence is felt. Now, I wonder if maybe they had more influence and then Netflix let Albert Kim decide what to keep and what not to keep. That's definitely a possibility. But, you know, the original creators are off now doing stuff with Avatar Studios, making a feature film, and actually I think it's an original show and 3 feature films, so there's a lot coming down the pipe for Avatar Studios. But for this live action show, I'm still confident. Albert Kim said this, and I quote, "When I first got the call, I was really excited just to sit down with them because I was in such awe of what they had created back for Nickelodeon. They had done a fair amount of visual exploration as well as narrative work and how to translate the show. I got along really well with them and we worked together for a while." Now, if there's one thing about Albert Kim, the man is grateful. He is not ever going to find himself, it seems, in this petty space, I guess, with the original creators. No, instead, he's just super happy to have worked with them. He's gracious, and it seems like the relationship, at least on his end, is just fine. And the last important detail from this article is the fact that there was a boot camp to help the cast learn martial arts for the show. Heck yes, this is what we wanted, guys. More intentionality, right, in the live action adaptation than the film that we got, we won't talk about. But man, it's really cool. They called it a Bender boot camp, apparently. It was a month-long training program that helped the cast learn martial arts styles that would then influence the way they portray the characters on screen. Now, I'm not well versed in martial arts, you guys, but here's what Dallas Liu described it as, and I quote, "A mix of northern Shaolin, Kung Fu, and Wushu styles." Let me know in the comments below. Is that cool? Because it sounds really cool. Alrighty, y'all. So that's the entire recap for the Entertainment Weekly article. And we're not done just yet. Entertainment Weekly also had an interview on camera with Team Avatar, of course, Sokka, Katara, Aang, and Zuko. So it was really cool to see all 4 of them behind the scenes doing some work for the motion poster and the clip of them making all their poses. So pretty dope. Now, I will say, there's really nothing new in the video. It just seems to be a lot of them talking about their experience together. No details on episodes or no spoilers or anything like that. But one thing's for certain, they have a lot of chemistry together.
Accidentally is one way to put it.
Yo. I have to say some really crazy stuff
to knock over
after.
someone's cabbages and ruin their day. I feel like a character has done that.
They even said they felt most in their element when working scenes alongside one another. So to me, that just bodes well for what we'll get in the final product in February. And all 4 of them had really cool things to say about how their experience was filming on Appa days. You know, when they're on Appa, it's really not actually Appa. They didn't build an animatronic for this. But from what we've seen in the trailer, Appa looks great. So the fact that they had fun doing that before the VFX work was added on in post-production, that's a good sign. So if you do want to watch this interview, I think what you'll do is get a sense of their chemistry and how well they worked together on set. And that's about it, you guys. Seriously, that's all I got. I know the main takeaway from today's video is going to be about Sokka's change in his character. That is a major detail and not one I'm overlooking. I do think I'm going to hone in on exactly how they treat his character and now other major characters in season 1. So let me know down below in the comments, you guys, what your feelings are ahead of February 22nd when this show drops on Netflix. Did this update really make you feel good? Or now are you a little scared for the final product? And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and like this video for more Avatar content, Dragon Prince content, movies, TV, heck, we're even covering Love is Blind next month and I cannot wait. Alrighty, y'all. Well, that's all I got for today. I'm gonna go take a breather, and yeah, I gotta return all the cabbages that I bought. Just too many. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.